What if I told you that almost every name on the African map is a lie? Not a conspiracy, a fact. Before 1884, before the Berlin Conference, before Europe carved the continent up like a birthday cake, Africa had names, real names, names that meant something. Not Nigeria, not Zimbabwe, not Senegal. Today we're going back, before the borders, before the scramble. This is what Africa was actually called. In 1884, 14 European nations sat down in Berlin and decided they owned Africa. They drew lines through deserts, rivers, and kingdoms that had existed for 1,000 years. But those kingdoms didn't just have borders. They had names. Names tied to languages, ancestors, and gods. When the colonizers left, mostly in the 1960s, they took the land, the resources, and in many cases, the names themselves. So let's rebuild the map, region by region, kingdom by kingdom, name by name. Let's start where the Sahara meets the savannah. What we now call Ghana was never Ghana to the people who built it. The ancient empire that rose there around 300 CE was called Ouagadougou. Sometimes spelled Ouagadougou, the name means land of herds or kingdom of the bow, depending on the source. The modern country of Ghana was actually named after the empire, not the other way around. Just south and west, the Mali Empire, founded by Sundiata Keita in 1235, was known in Mandinka oral tradition as Mandan Krufaba, meaning the great land of Mandan, the federation of the 12 kingdoms. Now, Arab chroniclers like Ibn Khaldun usually just called it Mali, but Mandan Kurufaba is the name preserved by griots and oral historians. And it represents the political alliance that built the richest empire the medieval world had ever seen. North of Mali, in what is now Niger, the Songhai Empire rose from the cities of Gao and Timbuktu. Meanwhile, the Hausa city-states, Kano, Katsina, Zaria, flourished as independent commercial hubs. Now Nigeria. Before it was Nigeria, this region was a universe of civilizations. The Benin Kingdom, ruled by the Oba, was a wonder of urban planning. The Oyo Empire dominated Yoruba-land with its fearsome cavalry. The Bornu Empire controlled the trans-Saharan trade. The Nenari Kingdom of the Igbo people was a sacred theocracy. And the Sokoto Caliphate, founded by Usman Dan Fodio in 1804, was one of the largest states in African history. None of them called their land Nigeria. That name comes from the Niger River, a name whose origin is uncertain, possibly from the Latin word for black, or from the Tuareg phrase Egereu en Egerewen, meaning river of rivers. The local people had their own names for it. Jeliba in Manding, Isaber in Songhai, Kwara in Hausa, and Oya in Yoruba. Further west, what is now Benin, was the Dahomey Kingdom, founded by the Fon people, famous for its all-female military regiments. Togo was a patchwork of Yu chiefdoms and Dahomey influence. Burkina Faso, that was the land of the Mossi kingdoms, powerful states like Yatenga and Ouagadougou that resisted both the Mali Empire and later the French. In the Senegambia region, the Jolof Empire once ruled over Wolof and Sera peoples. The Kabu Empire stretched into what is now Guinea-Bissau. And here's a name origin that needs correcting. Senegal. A popular story says it comes from the Wolof phrase Sunugal, meaning our canoe. It's a beautiful theory, first proposed in 1850. But most historians now believe the name actually comes from the Portuguese term Azenague, a reference to the Zanaga Berber people who lived north of the river. Moving into the heart of the continent, the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo were the core of the Kongo Kingdom, called Congo Diantotila in Kikongo. It was a highly centralized Christian kingdom that exchanged ambassadors with the Vatican and Portugal. To the east, the Luba Empire and Lunda Empire built vast networks of sacred kingship. The Kuba Kingdom, in modern DRC, was so artistically advanced that European modernists like Picasso later drew from its visual language. Angola gets its name from Angola. The title of the Kings of Ndongo, a powerful kingdom that resisted Portuguese invasion for centuries. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba is still legendary. On the Swahili coast, civilization looked east to the Indian Ocean. Kilwa, Mombasa, Zanzibar, Sofala. These were city-states that traded gold, ivory, and spices with Arabia, India, and China, for over 1,000 years. Inland, Uganda was the domain of Bunyoro Kitara, once a massive empire that fragmented into the kingdoms of Buganda, Toro, Ankole, and Busoga. Rwanda and Burundi were each powerful kingdoms with their own royal dynasties. The Nginya line in Rwanda and the Ganwa in Burundi. And then there's Ethiopia, never colonized. Its ancient name was Aksum, a civilization that rivaled Rome. Its people called it Abyssinia, from the word Habasha. And before all of that, the ancient Egyptians called their own land Kemet, the Black Land. In Sudan, the kingdom of Kush, with its capitals at Napata and Meroe, ruled Egypt itself as the 25th dynasty. Later came the Funj Sultanate of Sennar and the Darfur Sultanate, Egypt, Kemet. The name literally described the black soil of the Nile. Later, the Arabs called it Misr, a name that still survives. North of the Sahara, Tunisia was Carthage, the Phoenician empire that nearly destroyed Rome. Arab geographers called the region Ifriqiya, and some scholars believe that is where the name Africa itself comes from. Algeria was Numidia, land of the Berber horsemen who fought Rome. Morocco was Mauritania, and later the seat of the Almoravid, Almohad, and Alawite dynasties that shaped medieval Spain and West Africa. Now to the south. Zimbabwe was the heartland of Great Zimbabwe, a stone city built without mortar, the capital of a Shona trading empire. After its fall, the Mutapa Empire, which the Portuguese called Mutapa, dominated the region. Later came the Rosvi Empire and then Ndebele Kingdom. South Africa was a patchwork. The Zulu Kingdom, Xhosa Kingdoms, the Sotho Nation under Moshoeshoe, Tswana chiefdoms, Pedi, Ndebele, and the Khoisan nations who had lived there for tens of thousands of years. Zambia was home to the Lozi Kingdom, also called Baratsalan, and the Bemba and Chewa chiefdoms. Malawi takes its name from the Maravi Empire, an Iron Age confederacy of Bantu peoples. And Mozambique, its very name comes from an Arab trader, Musa al-Bikay, who settled on an island off the coast in the 10th century. The Portuguese corrupted his name into Mozambique. Here's a correction I need to make. I once listed Kangwane as a pre-colonial name for Eswatini. That's wrong. Kangwane was actually the name of the apartheid-era Bantustan, a homeland created by the South African government in the 1970s. The pre-colonial nation was called Eswatini, Land of the Swazi, named after King Mswati II. An older name was Ngwane, after King Ngwane III, who established the first nucleus of the nation around 1770. And Madagascar? That name is almost certainly a mistake. Marco Polo, who never even visited the island, seems to have confused it with Mogadishu in his writings. The Malagasy people have always called it Madagascar. So how did we get from all of that to this? In 1884, the Berlin Conference didn't just divide territory, it renamed it. Cameroon, named by Portuguese explorers who saw prawns in the Wouri River and called it Rio dos Camarões, River of Prawns. Sierra Leone, Portuguese sailors saw mountains in a storm and called them Serra Leoa, Lion Mountains. Guinea, possibly from a Berber word for Land of the Blacks. Ivory Coast, French colonial branding for a coastline that exported elephant tusks. Gold Coast, British branding for a coastline that exported gold. Slave Coast, the most honest and most horrifying name of all. Zimbabwe was called Southern Rhodesia, named after Cecil Rhodes, the British imperialist whose company literally owned the country like a private farm. Zimbabwe only reclaimed its real name in 1980. Namibia was Southwest Africa, a German colony, then a South African mandate. Even Kenya comes from Kirinyaga, the Kikuyu name for Mount Kenya, which the British couldn't pronounce. Names are not just labels, they are maps to memory. When we say Ouagadougou instead of Ghana, we remember an empire that traded gold across the Sahara before Europe knew West Africa existed. When we say Kemet, we remember that one of the world's greatest civilizations was African, built by African people, on African soil. When we say Congo Kingdom, we remember a kingdom that chose its own religion, its own diplomacy, its own path, before the Atlantic slave trade tore it apart. These names are not dead. They are buried, and they are waiting. If this changed how you see the map, remember, the past has a name. Learn it, say it, keep it alive. If you want more history they don't teach in school, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the untold stories of history.